again, what we've tried to do is offer it in a range of different sizes, so that depending on, my son only weighs 3 stone, so about 20 kilos.
Yes.
Even though he's 11, so he's very thin. So trying to give him a big, heavy, bulky device to carry around is not practical.
Sure.
He's got good fine motor and gross motor skills and visual acuity, so giving him a portable device that's 5-inch that he can carry around fairly comfortably, then that's great. Other people who might be older and who might have bigger muscle tone, giving them a 7-inch portable might be more appropriate, or 7-inch tablet rather than the 5-inch portable.
Sure.
More appropriate.
Sure.
And then again, the bigger, heavier devices.
And in a classroom, you can have this big board.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
So ultimately, where I'm looking at trying to work with schools and education authorities is, if you can have Speaks4me in a big classroom setting on an interactive whiteboard or on an interactive touchscreen, panel. And then the children have got their portable devices or their tablet devices that they can take around with them when they're going to in between different classrooms or playgrounds or in dinner times and lunch times and things, so that they've constantly got a means of being able to socialise and engage interactively with people. And then in the classroom, again, they've got the opportunity to work with teachers and support assistants and therapists.
The question I have is, how easy is it to teach a child to use this device?
Provided that the child's already been comfortable with the physical picture exchange communication system, using the symbols that they're familiar with, then using Speaks4me is a natural progression of using the physical exchange to a dynamic virtual exchange, but still aligned with the picture exchange service. So using the physical drag and drop to mimic the physical exchange, and with it being a portable device, then that device can then be taken to the communicative partner and appropriately engaged to again reinforce the direct communication that the picture exchange communication system mandates.
Is I understand what you say. You can customize the range of pictures, type of pictures, and the categories. I'm concerned about the time it could take to make a sentence when you have to select images across categories. Do you have anything that could facilitate the child in order to access to the images?
Yeah, that's a good question. Obviously, the more categories that you have, because you're sequentially accessing them linearly across the screen, then that has an inherent delay with regards to accessibility. But then again, burying the images within a single category makes it difficult to them to transverse up and down the image set. So it's a fine balance between the amount of categories and the quantity of images within those categories. And that's certainly something that we're looking at with regard to future versions of Speaks4me, to make it as flexible as possible, maybe with some form of predictive picture selection, similar to predictive text on a mobile phone. But we've not currently implemented that right now, but certainly maybe in version 2 or version 3 of Speaks4me, that'd be something that we'd look to try and address.
Good. And along these lines, I presume you are familiar with the quick software products. When they do lessons, for example, you were talking about a particular story, you may want to have attached to a given story in the format of that device a range of vocabulary which come together. So you're unlikely to talk about a giraffe when you've been talking about teddy bears, and therefore you already can select in relation to the story to facilitate the child to access to the words.
Yeah, one of the things that we'd like to try and do with some of the content is create preloaded categories. So, for example, if you was doing a particular story that had elements of transport and of buildings and various other things, that you could maybe tailor that story and that tab to so that everything is collected within that single category or single tab, that could then be activated or deactivated when the child's using that particular product or particular story or particular activity. Or if you're doing some form of IEP targets, if you're doing you know, fish or aquariums or under the sea, then you could again have some form of preloaded content that maybe you could download from the Speaks4me website that's aligned with
Sure.
either the national curriculum. And again, you know, other image companies offer various different categorised elements that align with some of the national curriculum. So whether that's Tudors or history or Greeks or whatever type of thing. And again, what we're trying to do with Speaks4me is to make sure that we can support as many of the different image sets as possible, so that you've got plenty of opportunity to select one that's appropriate to the child or individual using Speaks4me.